Alright, who's ready to fly?
Yeah!
Hey, welcome to MESArcFF Foam Fighters. I'm Ashton, and I'm about to build the MF Typhoon, the new MF Typhoon. So, let's go over the pieces real quick. You can go ahead, download the plans off of the website, or buy it off of Altitude Hobbies. So first of all, we've got this belly pan piece. I pre-beveled all of my cuts, and in this piece, this needs to be beveled so it comes up. This back piece here, it's like the flight test bevel style. You just pop it out. I beveled mine because I find it easier, but it'll just pop out and then it folds up nicely like that. Next, we've got the back and front midsection. This is what keeps it all together, and nothing needs to be beveled on this sheet. Next, we've got the front canard piece and top of the fuselage nose. This needs to be beveled so that it folds over nicely. This needs to be beveled a lot so that it can fold over nicely. And you can bevel this if you want to. I just left it unbeveled, and these need to be beveled so that it creates kind of an airfoil like our main wing. Next is the front fuselage, top fuselage piece. This is where your motor's going to go, and it's where the canopy slides into. So all of this needs to be beveled out. Next we have the bottom section of the nose. We don't need to bevel, well actually we need to bevel this section. I need to bevel this out real quick. And these just pop back. That doesn't need a bevel, and the mid part pops back so it creates kind of a rounded look on the bottom. This section I haven't done yet, but it needs to be cut out like the flight test. It's like what we have for the back piece on this section. So we can just cut it out along the line, and then it should come out nicely once it's cut out. So I'll finish this later, but that's how you do that. Here's the canopy section. It's just, this is actually the canopy from the MF-22 Raptor, but it fits really well on this airplane. This is a support section for the belly pan. These go on the back of the midsection. Back of the midsection once you have your wings on, or not once you have it, but it makes the airfoil. This goes along with that, it makes the airfoil. Here we have a small section to join the top and the bottom nose together. Once it comes up, we're going to have this part here. And then we've got the back top section. This is what you slide your stabilizer into. Keeps it nice and strong, and it comes out like that. And lastly, we have the wings, which need to be beveled here, here, and the aileron, or the elevon. Rudder needs to be beveled. All of this should be beveled out. And I think that's all. So we're good to go now. Now we have all our pieces. Let's get started. All right, so now I completed the bevel process of this. You can see here that it's just, you just pop it out, remove the foam, and then it folds up nicely. This section in the middle isn't beveled, it's just a marker for where your battery should be. So, first step is we're going to fuse the midsection. I have some packing tape here. First we want to take a piece of packing tape, pretty small, not too big, we don't want it overly taped. Make sure they're together, and then tape it up. Keep it clear of that hole. We're going to need to put something in that hole later. do another one. And the same thing on this side. Now we can flip it over and we have this little crease going on, or not crease, little edge going on here. I'm going to take my glue gun and then we're just going to open it up, stick some glue in here. Not quite hot yet, still work. Don't put as much glue as it might appear because it's not quite hot yet, so not too much glue but enough to keep it together. So we'll let that go down. I'm going to stick another piece of packing tape on top of it so that it doesn't come off while it's gluing. The same thing on the other side. Now that the wing, the midsection is put together, we can construct the belly pan. First of all, we got this section here. It keeps everything strong and nice. So I'm going to put some glue down in here and on the edges. Stick it in here. Make sure it's straight. So this, before I do that, this line. Well, okay. So make sure you have these carved out so that you can just put this in there. Make sure it's straight. It's a good idea to dry fit it first. I've already done that. But make sure everything fits in there before you glue it. That's a good idea. And then just run some glue along the side so that it keeps it strong. We have a line down the middle here, and that's for the rounded bottom look, again like we had the front here. So it just fold it back on itself a little bit so that it keeps the rounded body, and then once we have it connected with the wing piece that we just fused, it'll look nice and rounded on the bottom. So we can let this dry, let it sit a little more, maybe press it down so that it stays in the holes where it should be. Other than that, it looks really good. So once the bottom piece is constructed, we can take the top, the midsection, and we're just going to dry fit it along the piece that we just glued in. It's going to fit nice and snug. Now that we know it fits, let's flip it over, put some glue on here, and then it's better to put it along here so that it all comes together. Stick that down, and then we're going to let this dry. After this is dried, we're going to flip these sides up, and they're going to sit in the holes that we have along the edge. Alright, now that we have this piece glued on, I'm going to flip it on its side. We're going to fold this down, and then I'm just going to throw some glue along this edge here. Once it's along this edge, we can start to bring it down, and then we can fold it over and place it in these holes. Now, the angle of this might look a little funny, but we want everything straight because there's a natural curve that's going to happen here. So we want this to dry straight. Make sure these two are straight up, they're parallel. And once that dries, we're going to do the same thing to the other side. What this does is it pops this edge up so that it looks a little more rounded like the real jet. Now that that's dry, we can fold this over. Do the same thing, just a little bit of glue. Fold it back over, and then stick it in the holes. Alright, now I'm going to, just for strength and support, I'm going to put a little down on that side, and then a little on this side.
She's straighten it out.
Make sure it's all straight. Alright, that looks good. Now, we can flip it back over and we have a nice belly pan. Alright, now that this is together, we have these two pieces sticking off. So I'm just going to fold this back, put a piece of glue inside, and then a piece of glue down on the bottom here. and then a little bit on the top. That's not really where I want it to be, but it should be okay. Fold it over, bring up the top so that it matches the side piece, and then I'm gonna fill in what we have here. Okay. So we can pinch this, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So just a little bit on the side. Keep that pinch. A little bit on the side, a little bit inside, a little bit on top. All right. Now we have this piece that looks really good. Next, we're going to take this front piece here. Looks like the V shape almost. This piece goes right here. So first of all, I beveled all of these out, but you can use just a simple pin, maybe one of these, and just crease it so that it folds nice. But either way, bevel it or pin it. I'm going to run some glue down here, 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 and here. So now we can fold this over. It's gonna form all of this, put it inside, and then put it inside of these ones. Now we can let that dry. So we're gonna do the exact same thing as the front piece, but with the back piece. Just put some glue in here, all down the lines. Make sure not to crease that too much. It's a critical piece. And then we're gonna dry fit it like we did the first one. So just put that in the holes on the sides, and then make sure that's straight and that it all sits. Okay, so now that we have this piece glued down, we got two nice, sturdy, strong pieces to hold the fuselage together. So next, we're going to insert some of these wing pieces. This comes as a separated piece, but you just slice the middle and then fold it and glue it. So I've done that here. And then these just sit right in these holes. What this does is it creates the airframe for the wing to go over. So I'll just dry fit these real quick. Now you'll get one of these pieces, this little skinny piece. Just put it along the back of the edge, mark it, and then slice it off. Now you have two pieces, one to put here and one to put here. We can take our glue and glue this all down. Do the other one. All right, now we're going to take these the two back pieces, put just a little bit of glue and I'm going to cut a little bit off this edge. Now it fits pretty well. And stick it down. Here we have the completed plane, and the next step is going to be to make the front part of the fuselage. So I'm going to pull the pin out on this one, and all of this just removes. So what we're going to make now is the back piece of the fuselage. First of all, so what's going to happen actually is it's going to go in here and it completes it like this one has. So now we can, like any other flight test fold up design, I'm going to put some glue in here, then fold it up and let it form inside of our back piece. We're just going to make it line up at the bottom of the midsection. So now that they line up, we can let it form, make sure it's flat, and that'll work really well. Okay, this piece is nice and formed, we can pull it out now. The next step is going to be to attach these two. So this is your front piece, make sure you got all this creased, all of it folded back, And what's gonna happen is we're gonna butt this up, and then we got a line here. That line's gonna tell you not to go past, not for this piece, not to go past that line. You won't really be able to because it joins, but just in case, we've got the line there, and then we'll glue it like that. So, first of all, take the glue, and then we're gonna glue it in here, and just some on the sides, so that it forms nicely. Put it on the ends, fold it up, and then I got my partner here, Jack, here. So just hold the back of this, get a buddy, and then hold it so you can stick it in there and form it nicely. We'll let that dry and then off to the next step. All right, so this should be dry, and the next step is going to be, we're going to supply a popsicle stick or a little skewer, and what we did is just make sure this matches up. Stick it in, make sure it goes through, and then cut it to length, and stick a little piece of glue so that you can grab it and it doesn't fall through like that. So stick a piece of glue on there and it should be good to go. So next we have this piece here. This is going to fold over to make the canards, and we can put it on the front. What we're going to do, take the glue, put it in the middle here, and over here, and a little bit inside so that it forms the airfoil nice. And then we're going to fold it over, match it up with the edge, and a lot of glue on this. So we're going to fold it over, match it up with that, match it up with that, make sure the edges line up so that it looks nice, and we'll let that dry. Okay, so let's take a look at what I've done here. I've just glued these over, and we've pressed them down real hard so that there's not a big airfoil, because it works. We figured it works well, just really sandwiched down. So next we're going to take this, we're just going to place it on top and make sure it rests nicely, which it does. And then we have this little spacer piece here. It comes in your kit, or you can cut it out yourself. So we can be pretty safe to just glue it with the front, the small in front and the big in back, right on this line here. The back can go right on this line. So I'm just going to glue that real quick. Make sure it's straight up and down. And then we can let that dry. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our top piece. I'm going to throw some glue in the cuts, and then we can form it over while it's sitting comfortably on the top. So we use that spacer and it creates a nice rounded shape. Alright, so I've gone ahead and formed this piece, we've let it glue. Now the next step is going to be, I've ripped a bunch of tape here. You don't need this much, but I got a little carried away. So first of all, we're going to put these three pieces together and then just stick a little piece of tape there. It's going to hold it there. And now we're going to take some more tape, and put it along the edges. Just fill in the edges. Make sure there's no gaps left because we're going to be filling glue into there soon. Alright, we'll do the other side. And I'm just going to throw one more piece of tape on the front tip, so that it stays together how we want it. Okay, now we can take our glue and just throw some glue all down here. Fill in the cavities. Alright, so this glue's dried, and I've gone ahead and taped the edges, just one edge. I've taped one edge in the front of this top piece. So now what we're going to do is line it up perfectly with the side here. So take your time. This is really an art form. It's not going to be perfect, but if you can get it really close, it'll look really nice. Now that this glue's dried, I've got this top piece and I've put some tape along the edges of it. What we're going to do is we're going to put it on top, and then just one edge we're going to glue it down. So take my glue and just run it along the edge here. Be sure to take your time with this. It's not going to be quite perfect, but it'll look really good if you can get it close. So just take one side and then tape the other end and close it off at the front. While it's drying, you can get it so that it fits nicely with the other pieces around it. Once it's finished, it's going to look like one almost seamless piece. If you need to, just take some more tape and keep taping until it's right where you want it to be. Our glue guns are usually pretty hot, so it gives me some time to move around on the plane. It's dry, and make sure you really let it dry so that we can work with it on the other side. Keep the tape on there, and sometimes it's easier to just pull it out, and then I like to use a lot of glue and just fill in all the cracks. So it's easier to stick it out here, just rip it out, and we can just go ahead and do the same thing on this side. Fill it with glue, and fill the back with glue. You only need to peel it back a little bit. Don't take the whole thing off again. And then we can press it down on the edge and make sure it's really coming together nicely. Okay, I'm going to throw some tape along this edge. And I've actually ripped a little more tape. We used a little more than I thought we would. So make sure your tape's around. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it in here so I can match it up with this piece on the back. And then I can throw some tape, some glue and some tape along the back, press it down so that it matches up with that. And we get some tape along the back and along the front. And then keep this pressed down so that it matches up with the line on the other side. Now that this is finished, I pulled all the tape off and this formed pretty well. Next we're going to, these aren't sturdy yet, so next we're going to take our glue, just run some along here and stick it down, and then on the other side, put it in and then fold it back down. Look at it from the front so that you can make sure it's all the same angle. Don't want it to be too crooked, that might affect flight performance. Okay, so we've got all this finished. I'm going to put it inside, and this all lines up really well. If you need to, you can curve these inside a little bit. I've kind of already done mine. But we can just take these edges here and curve them in to match the other piece. Okay, so now that we got the front end pretty much finished, we're going to start putting electronics on our plane. First thing we're going to do is the Aileron Servos. I have my rudder servo ready to go, but we're going to leave that out so that it's not cluttered. I have my servos set so that each works for each side, so I'll just place that one in there. We can just stick the receiver up there for now. We don't need it yet. And this side over here. So to glue them, we're going to make sure that the bottom is nice and flush with the bottom of here. So this side's flush, not the top. So I'm just going to make sure that's right on the line. And then what we're going to do is just run some glue along the edge. My servos are a little different than the ones we measured with, so it's a little bit off, but most servos should work anyway. Make sure it's nice and straight, and then we can go on the other side as well. Okay, so I've gone ahead and run my servo wire through this hole we have here, and then it's connected to the aileron. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Just run it through the hole we have down here. and then find it back out on the other side. Okay, this one's gonna go into the elevator, and we have a tip series on this too. All right, that's looking good. Now make sure that each of these goes around the supports here, and we can just throw some glue down on that and on this side as well. All right, so next we're gonna put in our stabilizer. So I'm gonna put some glue along the bottom and leave a little bit extra so it doesn't look too bad on the other side. I'm gonna put my hand in here, lift up, and this comes in at an angle. Just put it in, make sure it goes in, and then make sure that these lines line up and that the back lines up. Then push it down so that it touches the foam on the bottom. And that's looking pretty good, so we can just let that dry. Okay, so I'm just gonna throw some glue along here, the edge, and on this side we want to miss the servo hole but still go along the other sides. Take a look at the back here. We're gonna put some glue along there and there, and then make sure that these sides match up. So I'm gonna pull the right side down a little bit so that it all matches up, and then we can let that dry. So what we've done here is we run the wire through this hole that we've designed in. It's like the hole that we have up here. So first of all, we take our servo, and then I'm gonna run the wire out the back. Once it's out the back, we can plug it in to this wire. And now we have our servo. It's gonna face this way. Make sure your arm does that, and then you can swing. Actually, it goes the other way. You can swing your arm around so that it moves along this side here. So I'm gonna glue mine along right here. And a little bit on the top. Now that it's all dried up, I'm going to put some glue down where we've run our rudder wire, and then we've run it along the same path as our elvons, and then it goes back through, and we put it in the rudder slot of the receiver. We're going to start the main wing piece. I've gone ahead and put down tape, packaging tape, along this edge. Make sure you bevel this part here. That's going to make the fold nice, and bevel this part where it meets. So we take this piece. This might get in the way a little bit, so you can just pinch it down. We're just gonna place it on top.
Need some extra hands?
Yep. Okay, and then we're gonna fold it over so that it meets that, and then we're gonna fold it over nice and slow. Okay, so now that we've seen that this folds over nicely and it matches up on the back, we're not gonna stick tape right in the middle. That'll melt the tape. Stick glue right in the middle, that'll melt the tape. But we're gonna put it on this first edge. Then we're gonna put it on the support piece, and then on the back. Lastly, we're gonna put some all along here. Now we can fold it over, put it down, and press it down. All right, now that my wings are down, let's make sure that your wings are equally in height on both sides. Mine are pretty good. So next, we're gonna do the motor. I have 40 amp ESC on a Super Mega Jet and just an extension for the battery. And this is my battery. First of all, let's make sure that your ESC and motor are plugged in correctly. We don't want to go in reverse because we're going to glue it in soon. Mine's okay, so I'm going to go ahead and glue it in. What we do is we're just going to, well actually first, let's just feed it through. Just feed it all through the other side. And then make sure you got a hold of it. And this is just the normal MF motor mount, but it's going to going upside down. So it'll fit nicely like that. Make sure you got your ESC wires and all of that. And what we're going to do to glue it is we're going to put some glue on the top of this and the top of this, and then just around behind the plate holding the motor on. And then we can stick it in there, make sure your ESC wires are good. Stick it in there, hold it up, and let it dry. Okay, so I put some extra glue on the outside for a little more strength. And then over here with our receiver, we can go ahead and put it in our throttle section, throttle input. All right, that's good to go. Now we can take our front end.
Jojo Clinda to the front office, please. Jojo Clinda to the front office.
Stick it inside. And I've gone ahead, formed the canopy already, so what you want to do is make sure you bevel each of these and then bevel the outsides. Get some masking tape, put it along the edges, fold it up, glue it in. While it's drying, stick it on top and form it so it looks just like this. Now, unlike some other Mesa planes that we've made recently, this canopy isn't what's going to be coming out on and off. It's going to be the whole front end. So we can go ahead and just run some glue along this side, here, and the other side, and just stick it on nicely. Let's get a front view so it's not crooked, and just stick it on. So everything's really come together nicely. We fit this on, and everything's glued down, everything's ready to go. Now we did add some strength back here because it is only one foam board piece, so we added a little bit of strength. We had this sticky carbon fiber that we just put on the side. That makes it look cool, and it's also strong now. So the last step is we're going to flip it over and push rods and control horns. That's the last thing. So right here, I've got all my push rods set up. We have a nice little Z-bend here, and we just bent the wires, and we can just glue them down now. So you just cut a slit in where you want your control horn to go. These control horns come in the kit that we sell. And so all we need to do is put some glue down where the hole is. Make sure that the wing is flat along the wing itself. We can stick it in there. Okay, so make sure, if you look at the side, make sure that this piece is aligned with this piece, not with anything else. Once it's completely flat, we can let that dry. Make sure your servo is straight up. That'll be its starting position. And then we can go over to the other side, do the same thing. So I flipped it back over, and we can do the exact same thing with the rudder. So just take the glue. We've got our control horn and our push rod already bent to go. And then just put some glue along the slit that you need to cut. Stick it in. And on here, we've added some glue on top just for precautionary measures. Keep it nice and strong. Make sure this is straight. Align the rudder, make it straight. Make sure your servo's straight. And push the control horn where it needs to be. Okay, so now we can give all the electronics a test. Here we have Mr. Marshall's, and he's done the option of, we've got just his battery in this position, and then on the bottom here we got some sticky carbon fiber. And we learned this trick from Nick, who was doing all kinds of crazy tricks and things. So if you roll it really hard, you have this and then a little piece of Velcro, and the battery doesn't come flying out. This is really sturdy. So in mine, I've just got it Velcroed down. That should be plenty. I've got the battery in a pretty generic location, and we can just give a shot, find the CG real quick. When you put the electronics back in, kind of pull up on the electronics and then slide it in. So, on the bottom here, we have some little holes, and these holes are where the CG should be. So I'm just gonna hold them, and you can feel it, and then give it a shot. Oh, that's actually really, really close. So yeah, that's pretty good. Just do the same thing with yours. Find the CG, hold the holes, and now we can give the electronics a shot. Okay. Yep, that works. Yeah, that's a lot of rudder throw. Plenty. Yep, that's nice. All right, we're good to go. So, all right, that should be it. Thanks for watching. Fly with someone, do whatever you want with it. If you do make one though, share it with us, because we really like to see those. We like to see all the paint schemes you do and all of that. It's really fun. So anyway, thanks for watching. See you later.